Aha! My name's Lars Thomsen with Trail Head Cyclery, and I got my mitts on a 2025 S-Works Levo Gen 4. Let's get into it.
Hit me.
Where to begin? I think we should start with the frame, because this is not just the Gen 4 motor and firmware and all of that. This is a whole new frame. There is nothing carryover about this frame from the previous Levo. The S-Works has a full carbon frame and a carbon shock extension. Some people call it a bike yoke. And we've got a huge battery now. It is 840 watt hours on tap. You could also replace it with a 600 if you wanted a little lighter weight. Or you could take both of those batteries out, not both of them, but not put a battery in the down tube, and instead just run a range extender, which has 280 watt hours, and cap all the terminals inside, and you've got yourself a very lightweight bike that's perfect for a park where you're just getting on and off a lift chair and just need a little bit of juice or a hot lap after work. Water bottle, battery, should be just enough. But most people are going to run this thing full Monty, 840 watt hours of battery, plus you could also add that 280 watt hour extension, and that's a lot of watts, you guys. A lot of watt hours in there. So what I've got here is the S-Works. And unique to the S-Works frame is a carbon fiber shock extension and the S-Works tuned motor that you can only get with S-Works. They've really souped it up. So it's got the 111 Newton meters of torque and a peak power of 720 watts. She's got juice. But all of the carbon Levos, from Pro to Expert to Comp Carbon, they all have the same carbon frame, which is a full carbon frame with a forged alloy link, 840 watt hour battery, and adjustable plus or minus 1 degree head tube angle, just like the Stumpjumper 15, flip chip on the rear shock, just like the Stumpy 15, and plus or minus 9 millimeters of chainstay length. So if you want to put a little more weight on the front wheel, you can extend this by 9 millimeters. If you want to make the rear end a little snappier, you can keep it short. It'll come default in the shorter setting. So the frame, all carbon, standard 210/55 rear shock, so lots of options on the menu for what you want to do there. But really the Genie Float X is a huge reason to love this bike. This dual air 2-stage spring system is like none other on the bike market. They're not the first in the world to do a spring like this, but it's the first one on a mountain bike that's done like this, and that allows you to get 70% of your travel super juicy, really usable travel, and then at 30% left in the tank, when you're bottoming out, it ramps up and makes it really supportive. So I find that this bike sits a little higher in the travel than the previous one. When I'm pushing hard on the pedals, going through a berm or in a G-out. Geometry is really akin to the Stumpjumper 15. They know they have good geos on that bike. Everyone loves the way that bike rides. So let's not get too far away from that. Okay, we're getting a little lower in here because I want to talk about the main star of the show, the new motor. This is the new motor. This is not a belt-driven motor. This is a diamond-hardened, steel-geared motor, totally custom for Specialized, made by the team over in Europe that really worked to get the quietest motor they've got. Lots of tricks under the hood that keep this motor really quiet. but also really small. You'll notice if you compare this bike to the Gen 3, this bottle is sitting a lot closer to this chainring. It is sitting a lot lower because it doesn't cut off. Like the old bike like cut off up here. Like the frame was way up here, so your bottle was way up here and they had to push everything around. This is all new. So we've got new mount points. Look at this mount point over here, and then this mount point here, and then my favorite part is this piece here comes straight down and it comes out nice and smooth, and it creates a really wide stance to support the main pivot. You'll notice that main pivot is located very close to this chainring for a good reason, because as the wheel's moving up and down in travel, the chain is pulling from the main pivot location. Really, really good. All of it super well covered, coated with like a rubber flap, but you'll notice the main pivot's here and then it continues down, and there is another bolt down here for the mount. So we have these new mount points holding this really snug, tight motor up into the frame. Look how much tighter this is than it used to look. Really love the aesthetics, and it also increases all of this stiffness. This bike feels really good when you shove it into a catch berm. It just goes where you want it to go. Okay, so one of the things that everyone's always been asking for is the rear derailleur being powered by the main battery, and they've done that here with the jumper cable. So you'll see this jumper cable comes in here and powers the derailleur, goes up to the main battery. It does not go up to the shifter. The shifter is still wireless. This is a Bluetooth wireless shifter. This is just eliminating a battery that you need to manage. Thank you. Big bikes, plenty of speed. You need to slow down. It's a heavier bike. You're going to be doing a lot more downhill. You need really strong brakes. And this, my friends, is SRAM's answer to everyone's request for the most powerful brake. If there's one complaint that people have about this brake, it's got too much power. But on a heavier bike like this, whew, it's nice. There's one finger on the lever, and it is easy to modulate on the steep stuff that you've been hanging on the brake for a long time. If you're a lighter weight rider, though, you're going to want to go with some less aggressive brake pads, perhaps, because holy moly, this thing's got some power. Okay, we've got the bike on its side so we can showcase the new battery position. They've put the battery loaded in from the side so that they can shrink this space a lot, because they no longer have to slide the battery out the bottom of the frame. They've got a lot more real estate to just tighten this up and put the battery on top. Plus, the battery has the cells orientated perpendicular now, so that they can stack them in a way that allows them to get more cells in a shorter space while keeping things anchored really low for a low center of gravity. The new charging port door is magnetized, rubber coated, rubber ringed, and the brilliant thing about this new charger, they put a ton of effort into this, you guys. You can go from completely dead, 0 to 80% in an hour. That's right, with the super fast turbocharger that comes stock with the S-Works model bike, you can go from 0 to 80% charge in 1 hour. Super great for like when you've forgotten to charge your bike and your buddies are waiting for you. If you don't have an S-Works, you can still get that speed charger. Seal that baby up, and I think we should get into this battery so you guys can see it. I'm going to go up here to the Swat tool that comes right out of the head tube. I mean, come on, is that not the easiest to use tool ever? I just love that tool. It's easier than anything else. And I believe that we're using a 5mm Allen wrench to tap into this guy right here. Yes. Open this guy up. And this door has a full rubberized seal going all the way around the outside to keep the insides dry and clean. And then look at that. A very tidy, 840 watt hour battery, easily removed. Boom, look at this. It is so tidy. And look at the back, it's telling you a bunch of things. This is important stuff. We don't like bikes burning down in the garage. So this is a UL certified, totally safe lithium ion battery that we don't have to think about when we plug it into the charger. So nice. And then if you look inside the frame, you'll see the tidiest cable routing, housing routing ever. They have little tabs that lock things into place so that the mechanics aren't pulling their hair out and you're not listening to rattly noises when you go down the trail. I just think that the small details like that are so nice. Specialized really pays attention to all those little details. And then there's more. Yes, up in the frame, we've got ourselves a stash. Oh, ho, ho. What do we have here? This is the Swat pocket that has a magnet to hold it up in the top of the frame so that it doesn't come dropping down. And you know, I wouldn't want to put anything in there that I'm getting into all the time. It's one of those things that, you know, just lives in the bike like a trunk. Let's drop this battery back in and see how easy it is to line things up. Slide that side door in, line up your bolt, thread it down, done. Put your tool back in the head tube, and we are ready to ride. So here we have a good view of the new remote. This new remote is really nice on the thumb. The tall piece in the middle is a three-way trigger. You can tap up to go in one direction, tap down to go the other direction. You want to add power, decrease power, or go through menu screens. And then if you want to select a menu screen, it's actually a press in button so that you can access more features. If you want walk assist, it's this really easily accessible lower button. If you hold the trigger, the toggle up and press the lower button at the same time like this, it will enter the menu for all of the settings. And then once you're in settings, you can tune the motor. You can do all kinds of tune-up options so that you can make this motor feel the way you want it to feel. Backpedaling is a pretty phenomenal tune. Means that if your motor is in overrun, meaning that you've started coasting but the motor is still assisting you for just a little bit, the moment you backpedal, it will stop that. Okay, here we are in settings, and a lot of people are going to be curious about the ability to go from class 1 to class 3. Class 1 has a limit of 20 mile an hour support or 32 kilometers per hour support with a motor. We can go from class 1 to class 3. And class 3 means that the motor will continue to assist the pedaler up to a maximum of 28 miles per hour or 45 kilometers per hour. And while we're not going that fast on trails, we oftentimes go that fast on the street. But most folks are going to use this as like a commute setting. And I'm really stoked on this setting because I live close enough to the trails where I can ride my bike there on the street. And I've always been annoyed by that limiter when I'm blasting down pavement. Don't forget to adhere to all the rules. So some places will not allow class 3 on trails. Just turn it down to class 1 and you're good to go. If I select the class 3, there will be some very clear indicators that you're in class 3 so that you know that you're in class 3 and you can adhere to rules and regulations. So we're talking about the various settings that you can use for how much power you're getting, and the purple mode is my favorite. It is so smooth and buttery feeling. What we've got is a peak power of 100% support, but a starting power of something less than 100. So here we are looking at the screen. I'm in turbo mode. If I use the toggle on the remote, I can go down to trail mode, I can go down to eco mode, I can go to standby or auto mode and standby. If I hold the toggle button up for a few seconds, you'll notice it goes purple. We like to call this purple mode, but it's really the micro tune with adaptivity, so adaptive micro tune. Right now you'll see it's 50 to 100. If I run something along the lines of 50-100, I'm going to get 50% support pretty easily pushing on the pedals, and I can achieve 100% support by pushing harder on the pedals. But it's a very natural, smooth feeling. I never feel like it's going into turbo. It's just naturally faster because I'm pushing harder on the pedals. And that's one of the things that just makes this bike feel so natural, is that it's adjusting the support based on the watts that the rider is putting in. Not necessarily like what you're doing with the thumb on the button or the trigger. There's no throttle on this bike. If you're riding with some really fast dudes and you're just having a hard time keeping up, you put this thing up to like 70/100 or 80/100, and it will make it a lot easier for you to tap into the full turbo 100%. But most of us, I think, are going to spend a lot of time in 50/100. I've done a good 5,000 something vertical feet in 50/100 and still had plenty of juice left in the tank. So clearly there's a lot of range, and the purple mode is my favorite. All right, that was a lot of download right there because there's a lot to talk about, but these bikes are meant to be ridden, so I think we should go ride it some more.